to show you how to take the character that you built in Photoshop, import it into Adobe Character Creator, and make it into a creature who can move and speak along with you. So our first step is that we're going to click on File, and we're going to go to Import. And because I saved the puppet that I named Clifford to my desktop, I can click on Clifford right there, Import. And I actually imported 2 copies, but you can see Clifford is over here. So if I click on Clifford, I can now see him in this software. I'm going to make him a little smaller so I can see all of him. And I'm going to use this hand tool down at the bottom just to move him into the center of the screen. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a couple more decisions about how Clifford's going to move, because the goal is that Clifford will move along with my body movements. Most of what we did to the head should already be complete. We don't need to make a lot of changes there. The only thing we're going to do to the head is I'm going to click here on the hair, and once this hair layer is highlighted, I can go down here to this button. This is called a dangle tool. And this dangle tool will create the impression that things are moving. And so if I click on the hair a couple times, the hair now has the possibility of moving a little bit with gravity. Because the hair is all one piece, it probably won't move a lot, but it's a good technique. And if we had hair that was made out of a lot of little strings, it would do more. Okay, now I'm going to click on the body layer. And this is probably, in my opinion, the most challenging aspect of the whole project because the arms are just a little bit tricky. So we're going to click first on the left arm layer. And while I'm here, I'm going to point out a couple things. So do you see this little crown that is next to the left arm? The reason that crown is there is that back when we made this a Photoshop file, we put a plus in front of that layer. And the plus indicated that this was a layer that should move freely on its own. And so this little crown indicates, again, that it's a layer that moves freely on its own. There are a number of things we need to change, though, because Character Animator needs to know what is the origin or the hinge, the sort of point at which the object moves. And so I'm going to click on the pointer tool down here, the selection tool. And I'm going to click on this circle where it says left arm. This is a really, really important button. And I'm going to move it up until I see a green outline around the character's body. So what just happened is that now this arm will move from the shoulder as a sort of hinge, as opposed to just moving sort of randomly away from the body. All right, so my next step is I'm going to add some other tags to the arm itself. And so I'm going to click down here on the dragger tool. The dragger tool means that the hand can move on its own. And so when I click on the hand with the dragger tool, you'll see a new button emerge and it says draggable. And I actually also want to label that tool as over here, the wrist. Okay, I'm just going to click here. Excellent. Okay, and then using the pointer tool, I'm also going to click up here where it says left arm, and I'm going to click for that one on the shoulder. And then down here, I'm going to create another handle where there's an elbow, and then I'll click over here on the elbow. And so now the software understands that those 3 spots on the arm should move along with my arm as if they are the left shoulder, the left elbow, and the left wrist. Now, one thing I want to say, again, even though I said this back in the other video, I think it bears repeating, is that you see how I'm labeling all of these features as left. This is the character's left arm. It may be on my right because I'm facing the character, but it's the character's left shoulder, left elbow, and left wrist. So even though it's on the right, we're going to label it left because it's the character's left arm. Okay, now there's one more really important thing I need to do with this arm, and that is I'm going to insert something called a stick tool. And so what that does is it basically puts bones in the arm, so these parts of the arm won't bend. There we go. There's one stick. Here's another stick. Great. And now I have what should be a very functional arm. Before I'm finished, though, I'm going to go over to the right side. And I'm going to do all these same things on the right side. So I'm going to pull this up here until it turns green. I'm going to use the dragger tool to make the hand draggable. I'm going to add an elbow. And then I'm going to tag the top one as the shoulder, the middle one as the elbow, the bottom one as the wrist. And I'm also going to put in some little bones here, okay? There we go. Super. Now, before this will actually move with me, though, I need to do one more thing. So I'm going to click on the Clifford puppet name over here again, and then I'm going to click on something that says behaviors, and I'm going to click on the plus sign next to behaviors, and I'm going to add in limb, IK, and I'm also going to add in body. And then I'm going to click on those and make sure that they're tracking all the right things. So if I go to body and I look at tracked handles, I'm going to make sure I've clicked left shoulder, left elbow, right shoulder, right elbow, and of course right wrist was already clicked. Super. Now, there are a few more things I'm going to do, but before I do those things, I'm just going to see how my progress is coming. So I'm going to go over here to record. And you'll notice now in the upper right corner, my face is being tracked. That's because the puppet's going to move with me. So I'll drag Clifford, the puppet, into my screen. Might take him a minute to show up, but here we go. There we go. All right. So the good news is that Clifford's arms are moving, which is exactly what we wanted. But obviously something is also wrong. So Clifford's arms right now are too free. So let's go back over to the rigging section, and we're going to make some changes. So I am looking at Clifford now here in the rigging section, and I'm going to click on the left arm layer, and I'm going to make sure that the specific behaviors that are enabled for this arm are also limb IK and also body. And then I'm going to double check that for the right arm. So we'll go to limb IK, and we'll go to body. Super. A couple other things we're going to do. We are going to make sure that inside the body itself, our origin point is high enough. So this origin point is what the software interprets to be the center that everything else should hinge off of. So I'm going to move it up so it's closer to the shoulders. And we'll see if those two little changes do the trick. Let's see here, where's Clifford? All right. That's what we wanted to see. Okay, so now we've got arms that move, but they are still attached to the shoulders, which is fabulous. Okay, so a couple things you'll notice here though. Do you see how when I move, the feet are not necessarily anchored down? That's not great, is it? So we're gonna go back to rig, and we're gonna use another tool here. Over in the rigging section, I also have something called a pin. And if I put a pin in both of this character's heels, that will hold the heels down so that he doesn't move too much. Okay, so that's good. Put another pin over here. And actually, I'm gonna move the two pins so that they're both totally symmetrical. I'll slide this one over. That's good. Great. Let's go back to record. And we have a functioning puppet, okay? And stating the obvious a little bit, if you look at my mouth, the character's mouth is moving with my mouth. And when I back up a little bit, the character should also move a little bit. It's very cool. There are a couple more settings we can change though that will help to give this character a little bit of a sense of personality. And so I want to go over here to where it says, under puppet track behaviors, to where it says face. So some of these settings are going to help me to give Clifford a very specific personality. So I want you to watch what Clifford's eyebrows are doing as I make both a very angry face and then a very surprised face. Okay, so here's an angry face. All right, very angry. Now, what if we wanted to exaggerate the degree to which Clifford looks angry with me? If I go to lowered eyebrow down here, double click here, and instead of negative 20, I do negative 30. Let's look at what Clifford does now. Interesting. It's not quite the same. It's a little more dramatic. Let's do it even more so. Let's try lowered eyebrow tilt 50. Okay, and now I'm going to make my angriest face. I don't think I'm great at making an angry face, but you can see what the eyebrows do. They go down more. Okay? So this gives you a little bit of a sense of how to give your character a personality. If you want your character to tend toward being angry, you could change the lowered eyebrow tilt so that it's always on the verge of anger. If you want a very sunny disposition, you could make this 0. And now, this character can't get angry. I'm trying so hard to get angry, and the character won't get angry. Okay? So these settings will give you a little bit of a sense of how you can change the vibe that the character has. Some other interesting things, I can change head scale strength. So let's go to 100 instead of 25 here. So now look at what happens when I zoom out and zoom in. There's, oop, that's not what I expected. What this usually does is it changes the degree to which the head gets bigger and smaller. Let me double check. Just calibrating again. Interestingly, that's not really working this time. I'm just going to try one more thing. I'll try 0 here. Well, there you go. Now it doesn't move at all when I go in and out. So there is some difference there. It's relatively small. Another fun one to play with is parallax. If you do 500 here, Look at what happens now when I turn my face. Do you see how all the features are moving to the side as I move my head? So that's another fun one to try. And we can also just try some general strength ones. So eyebrow strength would be interesting. Let's double that. Oop. Okay. And now if I do something with my eyebrows, those eyebrows are moving quite a bit. And if I double it again, whew, those eyebrows just are bouncing right off the head. So this is a fun area just to play with. Everything you do here, let's make those go back down. Everything you do here changes the personality of your character so that they might seem more angry, more surprised, etc. Okay, we have one more final step I want to show you, and that is a background. I am not going to ask you to make your own background for this project because there's already a lot of other things to figure out, but you can go to the ones that already exist for Character Animator and choose something that you think fits with what you'd like to say with your character. So for me, I'm going to pick the skyline, and now Clifford has this really cool skyline background, and I can make a little video with him. Okay? So finally, if I want to make a little video of Clifford, I'm going to stop making adjustments, and I'm going to go down here to where there's a red record button. And I'm going to back up a little bit so that Clifford can really move his arms. There we go. Sometimes the arms move. There we go. And if I hit the red button, I can record Clifford saying something. So, here we go. Hi, I'm Clifford. And behind me, you see the city where I live. Thanks for coming to visit. All right. So that was a pretty simple little video, but if I now slide this blue dial back here to the beginning, I can watch it. Hi, I'm Clifford, and behind me you see the city where I live. Thanks for coming to visit. All right, so hopefully this gives you some sense of the basic skills you need to make your own character in Character Animator. I am really looking forward to seeing what you create, and as you can see, these are just the basics. There's a lot more options for what you might make if you add more settings to the character, if you gave the character a more complex shape or body, but this gives you a sense of how to get started.